The parable of the Bramley apple tree. Something a little bit different today for Quiet Time Coaching, episode 565. I hope you enjoy what you're about to hear. I'm sitting on a bench at the bottom end of our garden. It's early April 2025 and the sun is shining. It is glorious. I mean, it's virtually sunbathing weather. And as I'm sitting here, I'm having some thoughts I thought I'd share with us today in case it's helpful for us in our devotional time with God. You see, where I'm sitting here on this bench, I'm slightly overshadowed by a tree. And when we moved into this property over a decade ago, the garden had been neglected for 2-3 years beforehand, and there wasn't much in the garden that was admirable and that we wanted to keep. But there was one thing, there was a jewel in the crown, if you like, and that was a Bramley apple tree at the bottom end of the garden. If you don't know anything about Bramley apple trees, then, well, you're missing out, because Bramley apples, in my opinion, are the best apples for cooking. They're fabulous in apple crumble and all kinds of apple dishes. Felt very lucky that we inherited this Bramley apple tree when we moved in. We've looked after it, and now where the bench is at the bottom end, it catches the sun the second half of the day. We're underneath the Bramley here, but the Bramley it's an interesting tree, this particular specimen, for a number of reasons, and I think there's some kind of spiritual parable going on here, if you like, because as I'm sitting here, I'm looking up at it, and it's all bent over to one side. You see, at some point, a Lelandii hedge line was planted, and because it wasn't maintained properly, it overgrew, and as it overgrew, it impinged upon the Bramley, and the Bramley has had to grow out from its normal position off to one side, so it leans across the path, and some of the branches are very low. In fact, I'm quite tall, and I have to stoop to get to the bench or go back into the house, and the branches are bent, a bit gnarled in places. It's not a young tree. And every year we have to prune it, partly so that it doesn't grow vertically at the end of the branches and then loses all of its energy and vertical growth that isn't going to be helpful for it, and partly to compensate for this stooping off to one side. We have to make sure the branches don't get too long, or else ultimately it would topple the tree over. So I share all this to say that when you look at the tree, simply as it is, especially now when the leaf hasn't yet come in, I'm looking at the buds, I'm looking at the new life that's beginning there, but the leaves aren't here yet. When you look at it like this, it's quite bare, and it's leaning over, and it's rather gnarled, and the branches are in strange positions, and you think, that tree does not look impressive. Why would one want to keep that tree? Why not take it out and plant something else in that would be suited to the conditions and that might look better? Why do we keep this tree? We keep this tree for a number of reasons. One is for shade over the bench. Another is because we rather like it. And another is because it's still fruiting. It's still fruitful. It is stooped. It is a strange shape. It does look rather odd. It's in kind of the wrong position in many ways. And it looks wrong, but it's still fruitful. It's still drawing nutrients from the earth. And as long as we continue to prune it, which we do from time to time, it'll continue fruiting these wonderful Bramley apples for quite some time to come. And maybe there's a parable there for our lives, our spiritual lives. I don't know about you, but there have been many times in my Christian life when I felt a bit stooped over, a bit bent out of shape. And am I still useful? Maybe I am. Maybe you are. Still useful for shade, still useful for some kind of fruit. I believe that's true, no matter what's going on. And so perhaps could you understand that God is your gardener? He's looking after you. And as stooped as you might be, as bent out of shape as you might be, He's still got good purposes in mind for you. Just a thought for you today while I sit in the sunshine under the Bramley tree on the bench at the end of the garden. Take care, and God bless.